Hello guys and gals, and welcome to my first ever episode of theory crafting. So Diablo 2 Resurrected is such an amazing game that you can come up with ideas that may not necessarily work the way that you think. And they are certainly not the established builds, but they do in fact work, and we are going to take a look at one of those builds right now that I've been theory crafting for quite some time. So join me as I theory craft this build into existence. Now this is a single player character, so keep in mind that I have essentially cheated in the points and given him level 99 and so forth and so on, and the entire purpose of this character is to test out how much damage I can get. Now this particular build is built around some very specific items. There are two items in particular that this build is built around. The first one is the Bone Runeword, which I have not gone over yet on my Runeword video. It is 15% chance to cast level 10 Bone Armor and 15% chance to cast level 10 Bone Spear. It also has +2 Necro skills and all resistance is 30, which is definitely nice. The second is the Runeword Brand, which has a 35% chance to cast level 14 Amplify damage when struck, which is absolutely useless to a Necromancer. But it does have 100% chance to cast level 18 Bone Spear on striking. Now the interesting thing about the Bone Spear on both the Bone Armor and the Brand Bow is that if you use this on a character that has no synergies, it will gain no damage bonus. And so a level 18 Bone Spear is about 250 damage, I think, tops. And 250 damage is just not great. And the level 10 Bone Spear is only like 150 damage. It's even worse. And each time you fire your bow, you will get a Bone Spear fired from these particular items. So I have a theory that a Necromancer could theoretically work in this particular setup if they were using their synergies to enhance the damage of the Bone Spear, which is coming from the bows. As you can see, every time it fires, the Bone Spear comes forth, and I also get a second Bone Spear when the Bone procs, which is really nice. The bow itself also gives me the ability to have an explosive arrow, so it fires explosive arrow. It ignores target's defense as well, which is nice because that makes it so that I don't have to worry about attack rating, at least for normal monsters anyway. And I also have enchant on my Lava Gout gauntlets, which gives me a little bit more attack rating. And then I'm also running lots of attack speed as well, because I definitely want to attack faster. But as you can see, the damage isn't that amazing. I mean, we're in hell difficulty, and it took me quite a large number of hits to kill that Act 1 Bloodmore zombie. So how do we improve this? Well, honestly, we need to improve this in many different ways. But first, let's take a look at our equipment that I've chosen. So I grabbed an Andariel's Visage, and the reason why I did this was for the attack speed and the lifesteal mainly. I also grabbed a pair of Gore Riders for the Crushing Blow, the Deadly Strike, and the Open Wounds. High Lord's Wrath for the increased attack speed along with the Deadly Strike. So we're running 37% plus 15%, which is, 52, I think, 52%, and then we get another 20% Deadly Strike on the bow. So we're looking at 2% on the Deadly Strike, which is really, really nice. We're also running the Razor Tail, which gives us a 33% chance to pierce through targets, which means that our Bone Spear has a chance to proc more than twice. So you can theoretically proc this Bone Spear multiple times if you manage to get quite a few pierces, especially in an area like the cow level. I'm also running Ravenfrost for the Cold Absorb, cannot be frozen, and the attack rating. And then I threw on Wisp Protector too for the chance to cast level 16 Lightning on striking. I figured why not. There's really not a lot of good choices. I could just run another Ravenfrost, but we'll see. And of course the Lava Gout Gauntlets to give me the increased attack speed along with the enchant, which I definitely am going to need. And all of this together equals a Necromancer that can do about 1,000 damage on his top end as far as damage is concerned. But what we're really worried about is this Bone Spear. So we need to put our points in so that we can enhance Bone Spear. Now we don't need to put points in Bone Spear. This is the beautiful thing about this, because we're not casting Bone Spear, we are shooting a bow. But we do need to beef up Teeth, Bone Wall, Bone Prison, and Bone Spirit. We also do not need to beef up Bone Armor, because we have a 15% chance to cast level 10 Bone Armor when struck on the Bone Armor. and that will also gain synergies. So we are going to put 1 point into bone armor. We're going to cap out teeth, because teeth is a synergy for bone spear. We are also going to cap out bone wall, bone prison, and bone spirit. So we're going to head and cap out all of these. And once we have all these capped out, the damage of our bone spear that's coming from the bow should be exponentially increased. And at this point, we have a lot of extra points because now we have capped out teeth, we have capped out bone wall, bone prison, and bone spirit. And what this means is that we've gotten 7% per level of hard points into each bonus, right? So we've got 7 times 20 there. So 20, 40, 60, 80. So if we run this on the calculator and we find out exactly how much damage that is. So let's say 20 times... Sorry, hold on. 80 times 7 equals 560%. And then if we go over to the website and we take a look at Bone Spear, Bone Spear will tell us exactly how much damage is being done at particular levels without synergies, and we can use this as a way to calculate the amount of damage that our Bone Spear is doing. Because of course we can't see it. We're not going to be able to. We are not going to be able to see this. And this is very important because if we do not calculate this out, we're never going to know. And this is the type of esoteric builds that people will make that are surprising. So so first off, we need to look at the level of our ability. So we have level 18 Bone Spear, and at level 18, Bone Spear has a damage of 179 to 190. So if we take our calculator and we do 179 plus 560%, we will get 1,181 damage on the bottom end, and 190 damage on the top end, so plus 560%. So we're looking at 190 plus 560% is 1,254. So let me go ahead and write this down real quick because I'd like to keep track of this. So 1,118, wasn't it, for the bottom end, or 81? Okay, 81 to 1,254 for the top end. And then we have to calculate in the bone plate as well, which has a level 10 Bone Spear, which at level 10 Bone Spear does 96 to 104. So again, we're going to calculate in 96 plus 560% equals 633. And then the top end of that is going to be 104. So we're going to calculate 104 plus 560% equals 686. All right, so now we take these numbers and we calculate other things. So we have a 33% chance to pierce, which means that we have a chance to dish out multiple effects. So bare minimum, because the effect on bone, or the brand, is a 100% chance, we know that we have at least a 100% chance of dealing 1,181 damage, all right? But Bone Spear pierces, which means that Bone Spear can pierce multiple targets. It has a 100% chance to pierce. So if we are somewhere like the cow level, we know for a fact that we have the ability to pierce through multiple cows and dish out multiple amounts of damage. So that 1,181 to 1,254 can do massive amounts all by itself. So we've got anywhere between, essentially, 1,181 for one target, to maybe a possibility of 10 targets, which is 11,810 for 10 targets, right? So that is like our bare minimum between one target, 1x targets, to 10x targets, and we're gonna calculate this as if it's multiple targets. All right, then we also have a chance to proc a second Bone Spear. All right. So we have the ability to proc the second Bone Spear from the Bone Armor, which is only a 15% chance, but it does do 633 to 686, which is going to be, again, 1x of 633 to a possible 10 Monster Pierce, which is 6,864. So very, very effective there as far as one-time procking. However, what if we proc multiple times? So we have a 33% chance to pierce, and we have a 100% chance to cast Bone, which means we can theoretically proc Bone more than one time, over and over again, to an almost infinite amount of times, depending on how many times we pierce and how many times we proc the effects. So if we were to pierce 4 times, for instance, we could proc Bone, the effect on Brand 4 times, and we would have 4 chances to proc the effect on the Bone Armor, which means that our damage can be multiplied anywhere between 1 times to 4 times the equivalent of how much damage we're doing. Then we also have the explosive little component as well, which is providing a nice little explosive damage, and the fire damage on the lava gouts and things like that is enhancing it. So we've got another little component which is adding on damage. So I think the best thing that we should do right now is go into the cow level. Now we're going to need a golem. So we have 37 skill points left, and I think one of the best things that we can do is grab a clay golem. Clay golem is going to be a very effective golem, so we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to put 5 points in Summon Resist, 5 points in Golem Mastery, and we're going to dump quite a few points into the golem itself. 12 points should be more than sufficient to allow us to use him for tanking purposes. We also keep in mind that we also have the walls as well, which are capped out, so we can use those to help us out as far as containing monsters is concerned. And then for curses, we need a decent curse to go along with our Necromancer, and I was thinking of 2 separate curses. Number 1 is Life Tap. Life Tap is going to be very, very effective. It doesn't really matter how many points we have in it. And then on top of that, Confuse will be very, very effective for us. So I'm going to put a decent number of points into Confuse, and the reason why I want to do that is because I want it to last a decent amount of time. Life Tap will also get a decent amount of points, so that I can use that for healing purposes. And actually, you know what? We can 1 point Life Tap. It's not a big deal, because I would really like to put as many points as I can into Confuse. And let's go ahead and assign our abilities here. So we're not going to be... Well, I mean, we could cast Bone Armor. It doesn't really matter. We have 670 damage absorption on Bone Armor now. Let's go ahead and throw our Bone Wall, Bone Prison, Life Tap, and Confuse into the mix. And, of course, our Golem. Let's go grab the leg. Let's see if we can even grab the leg, shall we? So the damage so far is fairly nice. Obviously, I'm attacking kind of slow. You know, this might be good to pair up with something like a Faith Bow Mercenary, just so I get the Fanaticism as well, so I'm attacking faster. Or maybe, I don't know, a Might Mercenary to increase the physical damage component. Not really sure 100%. I mean, a Holy Freeze Mercenary could certainly come in handy. I'm not using corpses, so as a Necromancer who's not using corpses, that certainly comes into play. I don't have any Necromancer or any Mercenary at the moment, so, you know, any Mercenary would be better than the none that I have. I'm really interested to see how this works in the cow level. I think that's going to be one of the main tests here. If it can handle the cow level just fine, it could be a rather fun one to play. Now, one of the downsides to this build is that this Bone Spear comes out of the monster that it procs on, and not you, which is very odd to me. When I originally saw these pieces of armor a long time ago, I had originally would have thought that the Bone Spears would have come out of you, but instead they come out of the target that the bone spear procs on, and this becomes an issue because what it does is it creates a lack of piercing on the bone spear's part. So take for instance, you had 4 monsters lined up, and the last monster on the line was essentially the one that that you hit, right? So the last monster in the line is going to proc a bone spear, but the bone spear is only going to travel through just those targets and nobody else. It's not going to travel through you. It's going to travel through that one monster that's all the way in the back, which is pretty sad. And of course, let me go ahead and grab my auras. So I got Confuse. And this is going to come in really handy in the cow level. I know for a fact it's going to. The damage is not, like, awful. It's not as good, I think, as I originally had anticipated, but it's not bad, to be honest. Of course, I can also use Amp 2 to increase the physical damage component if I run into monsters that are immune to magic. Of course, amplify damage is doing nothing for Bone Spear, though, and that's kind of the thing here, is that we don't necessarily want it for that purpose, as the majority of our damage right now is coming from the Bone Spear itself. It's such an odd build, I'm gonna tell you what. What's up, Grizzy Busy? Let's see how Griswold takes our Bone Spear spamming. Can't even get to us because of all the walls. The walls. Now, of course, one of the benefits of building this this particular way is that we do still have an attack that is not a physical attack. So even if you were in a situation where you ran out of arrows or something and you just didn't have enough left over to dish out anything to a target, you could actually spam some of your Bone Spirits. So you have to build Bone Spirit as a synergy for this to make it work. And because of that Bone Spirit beefing and all of the requisite synergies, you actually do have Bone Spirit to use, which is about 2,000 damage. It's about the same amount of damage that you're doing in Bone Spears, but it does cost mana, and it's kind of up to you. It also doesn't pierce, so there's also that. I'm playing around with different methods of crowd control. Confuse is definitely an interesting method of crowd control. It's very useful just for running through places, because all the monsters are too busy fighting everyone else instead of you. I need the gold to buy a tome of town portal, because I don't have any gold to buy tomes of town portal. I don't have any gold. Any gold. One thing I always forget to do is give my characters gold. It's so silly. It's such an easy thing to do. Like, hey, just when you're in there editing the character and adding in items, throw them some gold. What would be so hard about throwing them a little bit of gold? But no. Can't ever do that.
The order welcomes you.
Or a mercenary, for that matter. Alright. Let me get myself one. Get myself some real potions, just in case I get into trouble. I don't need mana potions, because I'm not really casting very many spells. I mean, about the only spell I'm casting is Confuse. What's the mana cost on Confuse? 13? Got 351 mana. That doesn't even really seem worth it. And as you can see, I have no charms, and the equipment that I'm using is I don't have any like socket in the helmet, and there are probably better gloves than lava gouts. I could be using a demon limb, for instance, for the better enchant, and then I could be using something else, which is much better than lava gouts. As far as rings are concerned, I could certainly be using a better ring than Wisp Protector. And I'm not really sure, like, as far as charms are concerned, I can have a bunch of elemental damage charms lined up, which would increase my damage as well. It really just depends. Alright, let's get this Confuse working in here. Oh no. My arrow is getting stopped by the bushes. So we want to try and line ourselves up so we're getting the pierces. Every single time we pierce, we're getting more damage, of course. And in the cow level especially, you know, the bone spears are going to be traveling through multiple targets. So we're going to be dishing out lots of damage to all the targets as opposed to just simply one. Right now, though, it's not looking the greatest. The damage is okay, and I can certainly kill 1 or 2 cows with ease. And I am noticing that the damage is spreading out very nicely. I mean, there's definitely that, like the damage is definitely spreading out very well, but it's spreading out like too much. Like I'm getting a lot of spread, and I'm not getting a lot of single target damage, which I'm sure makes things a little bit more difficult. The Confuse is certainly helping. It keeps the crowd control while I'm sitting here firing my bow off, which is definitely nice. Man, that is a lot of targets. I'm trying to make sure I get an optimal spread here on the way that my pattern is working. And as you can see, when I hit one particular target, like, it doesn't do awful damage, but the damage isn't so great that I'm really, like, absolutely loving it here. I kind of think maybe I should have gone with skeletons. That would have been a decent way to do this. And there's the Cow King. Let's take him out. Where you at, Cow King? There he is. Alright, so let's target the Cow King particularly, and let's see how fast we can kill the Cow King. Oh no. Go back to being confused. Unfortunately, my Confuse is not high enough level. It only lasts about 10 seconds, so it does need to be recasted very often. Which isn't exactly very helpful when you consider the fact that 10 seconds is only enough time to shoot like 4 or 5 arrows. This is such a weird build. Dear Lord, this is so weird. I can do it, I can do it, I can kill you all. I can do it, I can do it, oh yes. I wonder if this would go faster if I were to apply Amplify damage instead of Confuse. But of course it's going to be a lot more difficult to take on a large group of monsters like this. It's so interesting because when you can tell when both bone spears are proccing at the same time, and it definitely does a lot more damage when both bone spears are proc as opposed to just simply the one. And like, take for instance, we got this cow right here. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's about 8 shots per cow, and it does spread. So you'll notice that like each cow is taking damage from each individual bone spear. But like when you're watching their health go down, you can totally tell when both bone spears proc versus with one spot procs, because when one procs, their health goes down a little bit. But when both proc at the same time, it's a huge increase in the amount of damage that they're taking. We've also got the Deadly Strike, which is in the equation. Let's play around with Amplify Damage a little bit, and let's see if Amp Damage really breaks up our overall kill speed. So here's a smaller group. I mean, it definitely seems to be helping. The fact that we can use Amplify Damage is doubling the amount of physical damage that we're getting from this as well, which is certainly nice. I mean, we've got a lot of things going on here. We've got the fire damage component from the exploding arrow. We've got the fire damage from the enchant. We've got the magic damage, which is coming from the actual bone spear. And then on top of that, we've also got the Deadly Strike, which is increasing our physical damage. Then we have the Amplify Damage, which is also increasing our physical damage, to the point where we have a massive amount of physical, fire, and magic damage all coming out at once, which is certainly very interesting, to say the least. And then we also have the poison damage coming out, too. I suppose I could also just throw a wall up and do that. Certainly wouldn't hurt matters. I mean, as far as crowd control is concerned, I would definitely say that this Necromancer is just fine as far as crowd control is concerned. I mean, as you can see, he can pretty much just lock down everybody. For lifesteal, he could go with Life Tap, which is going to keep him at full pretty much no matter what. We've also got amp damage proc on the armor itself, which is interesting. Or the weapon itself, sorry. This is such a weird build. Is it working? Yes. Is it optimal? No. It's anything but optimal. Oh man, I come up with the weirdest ideas. And the funny thing is they work, and then I look at them and I'm like, but is it really
I need a key.
important? An interesting thing that I was thinking about, though, was that this Necromancer wouldn't make an absolutely awful summon Necromancer. If you think about it from the regard of you only have to spend, what is it, 20, 40, 60, 80 points, right? So that means you still have 20, was it like 40 points left to invest in some summoning skills. So if I were to reset this character, one thing that I could definitely do instead of how I built it was I could go with max skeletons and skeleton mastery, and put as many points into summon resist as I can. Maybe forego most of the curses entirely. Just simply go with amplify damage for the skeletons. And what this would do, it would make almost a very odd summon Necromancer who could actually attack things. So you would be a summon mancer who can also shoot a bow, which would just be really weird. And you would probably want to build summon Grand Charms and plus the skills as much as you could. So maybe Soges, or maybe a Bull Kathos Wedding Band, things like that. Things that are going to enhance the power of your summons. And then on top of that, running Might on your Mercenary might come in handy, because that would increase your physical damage as well. And as we can see here, there definitely is a nice physical damage component to this particular bow setup, because the amplify damage is actually increasing that physical damage fairly nicely. It's only about like 2,000 once you calculate in the fact that we've got Deadly Strike, so it's about 1,000, and then with Deadly Strike it's about 2,000, and then with the amplify damage, of course, we're running probably about 4,000 physical damage. On top of the Bone Spear spam, which is, anywhere between, what do my numbers say? Anywhere between, like, 1,181 to, like, 20,000, depending on how many procs and how many pierces we get for each individual one, so it's completely random, unfortunately. Such a weird character idea. And I was talking about this on stream the other day, and I was like, you know what? I have a single player. I have a hero editor. I can edit up these characters, and I can make this work. And I could just throw some items on them and just see how it goes. You know, just see how things would work. And if you're interested in the way that I'm making hero editor work, I don't actually have a hero editor that edits files. In Diablo 2 Resurrected, what I do is I create a character in the original Diablo 2. I then give him the items and the skills that I need him to have, and then I copy that over, the save files over to Diablo 2 Resurrected, and then Diablo 2 Resurrected converts them into Diablo 2 Resurrected save files. That's the only way I've been able to do it so far. So what's the verdict on this? I've already been going for about 30 minutes. Let's do our little final thoughts on this. What's our verdict on the summon, the bone Necromancer? That's what I'm going to label this video. The BowNe Necromancer. See, Bowen Necromancer. Everybody's going to think it's a mistake. It is not a mistake. It is weird. What are my final thoughts on this? I really don't know. Like, I feel like it kills quickly enough that it is certainly capable of doing hell. You could probably clear hell no problem. Is it the most optimal build? Absolutely not. There are definitely, in fact, building just a pure spear necromancer is probably going to be more optimal than building a bone necromancer, a bowen necromancer. And it seems a little slow as well. I mean, it's not optimized completely, and as I said, I think I probably should have gone with skeletons instead, so that they could have, you know, acted as a buffer in between me and the enemy. I definitely could have done, because I wasted about, 12 points there, 12, 15, 5, 6, 7, so 17. I would need to build Summon Resist, and then I have to subtract 1, 2 from that anyway. So 15 points wasted here, and then I also wasted points into Confuse, which could be used other places. So 15, 25, 26, and then 27 with Dim Vision, 28, 29, and if we just build Amplify Damage, we'll have 29 extra points. We can take those 29 extra points and beef up Skeleton as high as possible, so we would have 20 points in Skeleton, and then we would have 9 points in Skeleton Mastery. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else we could skimp on, but I don't really think there is. No, that's pretty much it. So we would have level 20 skeletons with level 9 skeleton mastery, and then of course our plus to skills would come into effect there. Any plus to skills we have on, like the High Lord's Wrath, and maybe if we swap this out for a Bull Kathos ring, and then plus summoning charms would definitely be useful here to increase the strength of the skeletons so that they're a little bit more viable. And basically we would just be sitting behind the skeletons, you know, just firing our bow. Is this the first Necromancer you should make? Hell no. Is this a Necromancer that you could make just for the lulz? Just to be like, okay, I want to see what weird Necromancers I can create today. This would be a good weird Necromancer to create. I mean, look at the damage I'm doing to this champion. Look at how much damage I'm outputting to these hell bovines. It's not awful. Like, it's not the greatest. I'm not rolling through them like, for instance, a lightning Javazon would, but I'm certainly able to kill them just fine. I mean, that champion's HP is just rolling down. Of course, I do have a little bit of Crushing Blow added in here, which certainly makes things a little bit better. Crushing Blow does work on bows, by the way. It's just at a diminished effect. And that's kind of the beauty here, is that I guess I could be stacking Crushing Blow, and I wasn't even thinking about that. Maybe this character would be better off instead of a Andariel's Visage. Maybe he would be better off with a Gillem's Face to add more Crushing Blow, or perhaps instead of Lava Gouts, maybe he should be using some crafted gauntlets with 10% Crushing Blow on them. So he's got a decent amount of crushing blow on every single attack. That way he's reducing the maximum amount of HP off the monster and softening them up. Idea. Anyway, as always, I hope that you enjoy these videos. This one is definitely a weird video, and keep an eye out later because I will be doing Runeword videos on the bone armor, and I'll also be doing another Runeword video on the brand Hydra bow. Very, very interesting items, and we'll talk about those later. Anyway, thanks for watching, and keep watching.